Hello and welcome to The Final Bell. Great to have you with us for another week. We are brought to you by GMHBA. It is great to have them on board for season 2025. I am joined, as I am every single week, by Meg McDonald. Hello, Meg.
Hey, Lingy. Good morning.
We are going to talk all things Cats versus Saints, and then we're obviously going to look ahead to the game, the rescheduled game against the Brisbane Lions. We're going to find positives, hopefully, but obviously not the result any Cats fans wanted from Saturday night's game against the Saints at Marvel Stadium. Still lots of really promising performances, and maybe we're just going to edge a little bit to those younger guys who showed, I thought, incredible promise, and were part of the drive of coming back and maybe nearly pinching it in the end. Some really impressive performances, but last week, Meg, you got things rolling a little bit with Meg's memo, just a little bit of a voice memo.
Iconic stuff.
I was wondering if you were going to do that as a regular thing and maybe bring me something else, or was that just a one-off?
No, I've committed to it insofar as I've had two people, friends of mine, say that they enjoyed it. So
excellent. Have you
Cats
got another
fans,
one for us?
I can
then?
take the feedback if you don't. I do have another one. I did mention last week that I wasn't going to be able to make it to Marvel Stadium because I got a last-minute ticket to Dua Lipa. So let's just play it. I haven't listened to it. So
are you at Dua Lipa making voice memos?
and post Dua in the voice note.
Commitment to the podcast.
I mean, I could play you some of the. You don't want to be that person at a concert who's got their camera out.
Yeah,
taking a
but
video.
Everyone does.
But you can't help it. You're like, it's just so good. I was on the night that Troy Sivan came out. Shout out Troy. Anyway, it was a great night. Bookended by some disappointing checks on KO.
I'm glad you had fun.
Speaking of
at
Cats
the concert.
fans, KO Cats membership. Really, have you got one of them?
No, only because I've already had the KO subscription, but I do have a Cats membership, yes, to answer that question. But
you could sort yourself out if you know what I mean, Lingy, with the KO membership.
Which is obviously really important given the Super Saturdays, because obviously it's all on KO and there's a few games. So Digital Plus membership is what you want to get.
That's what I was looking at as I was walking through the Botanic Gardens on the way in. Anyway, that was a bit clunky, but let's go for it. I guess I'm delaying the inevitable, which is to listen to a minute and a half of my own voice.
Do we give this a big intro now? This is Meg's memo.
G'day team. Look, we've just exited RLA. We're walking along the town, about to take a ride up Anderson Street Hill, so that's a little rough. Reminds me that I've got pre-season in a couple of weeks' time. If I sound a little raspy, it's because I've just walked out of one of the greatest concerts I've had the pleasure of attending. Love a last-minute ticket. Cheers to my friends. Dua, what can I say? The woman's got some presence, and let's just say can perform on the big stage, which we love and respect. The Cats. Looks like it possibly got worse before it almost got better, almost got really good, like something I would watch when I get home at 1 a.m, but I'll save it for Sunday. Keen to hear about the comeback. Ultimately, and I haven't watched much of the game, it seems like a good time to remind ourselves that you neither win premierships in March, nor do you win them in Marvel Stadium, so that's okay. Onwards. I hope you all have had an enjoyable Saturday night. It's going to be hard to have been as enjoyable as mine, whereby I didn't sit through that result and I did have a great dance party. So life's all about balance, as is football. So let's keep us measured and focused on the long-term goal. Anyway, happy Saturday, y'all. And that's a new one. Hope you enjoyed the footy, Lingy. Safe to say that if we're looking into superstitions, I won't be attending a concert again. So sad for me. Oh, did I mention Dua Lipa's encore? 4 absolute bangers, only to be interrupted by the St Kilda supporter standing behind me. Look, that was rough.
Gold,
How's the ramble?
pure gold.
The
couple of observations.
Yes.
A couple of quick observations. Anderson Street Hill was clearly doing a little number on you. There was some puffing going on there, Meg.
I was also trying to get it in before the next couple walked past me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The other observation, and maybe this is a bit of a personal question given it was your Saturday night to do it, you're like, how many glasses of a little something did we have at the concert?
I was high on life.
Yeah, okay, sure. No,
I mean, in all honesty, I had 2 rosés at the start of the concert.
Good. Yep. No, there was some chattiness to that.
I also drove home after that voice note, so we're all
good.
we're all good.
No, there was just some chattiness to that memo
Oh,
there,
yeah,
Meg.
you know. That's me. You don't want to become one of my... Have you seen the memes about the friends that send you 5-minute voice notes? You got to get the notepad out.
Yeah.
Yours truly.
No, loved it.
Anyway, it was a great night.
I'm glad you had fun at the concert.
Yes.
You will never be attending another concert again because you mentioned the superstition.
The superstition, no good. I honestly, I drove in, I parked, and as I walked in, I think there was 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and I was like, oh, well, let's hope this turns around but when I'm in there, but it didn't.
No, the start was everything. We'll get to the end,
Yes,
and we'll get to
let's
the
get to
fact
the
we
end.
made a comeback. But I just need to make a point. The start was credit to St Kilda. They were on and sharp and had clearly learnt from their week before where they had a bad game. They'd obviously fixed up a few things during the week. They had a clear focus. Their pressure was enormous. Their hunt around the contest, their hunt of us as a team was excellent. And then they turned that into a high number of uncontested possessions. They were flicking it around. The ball was moving on the back of a lot of that contest and defensive intent. They were on. It looks like, now this is always a ridiculous statement to say we weren't on, we weren't ready. Because of course we were. These are professional players. But we felt just a beat late on lots of different things. A beat late to defend them. A beat late to get that sharp little handball off before they got a hand in it. And they jumped us, it's fair to say.
Yeah, they certainly did. It reminded me, I was trying to think about how you describe that feeling when you, despite your best intent and, as you say, effort of a professional athlete, it's just not, it just starts, as you say, a little off kilter. It reminded me of the start of one of the perennially underrated rom-coms, Wimbledon. Do you know the movie?
Yeah, I certainly do.
I knew
Paul
you would.
Bettany?
Yeah.
Great movie.
There's a sequence at the start where his string breaks and he's like, doesn't get it on. You're like, oh, this is just a bit off. And we'll get to credit to the team for being able to turn that around. But St Kilda, as you say, their hunger, the commentary was celebrating another 3 St Kilda players on the tackle. Yep. Now, if you can get through that, that probably means you've got the outside sorted. But we didn't. I thought I was actually speaking to Tommy Atkins yesterday, and he made a note of the Cats' ball security early. It probably wasn't what it needed to be, and it was just the comparative strength in the tackle. You're right. We sort of didn't get that handball away initially. And then when we forced it out, they were a little limp and not, and easily turned over. And then, as you say, uncontested possession-wise, I read that we had the lowest possession count in the first half under Scotty. So
St Kilda were plus 70 in uncontested possessions at half time, around that mark. That is astonishing.
It then makes, you can't, I don't know exactly how the pressure rating is calculated, but if it becomes a kick mark game once they get the ball in possession, you can't apply the pressure in the same way.
That's exactly right, yeah. It's easy because immediately we say pressure, we think of a tackle.
Yes.
So a tackle is crucial in that pressure, but it's also that person closing the space down of the ball carrier. So St Kilda players got the ball, we close them down quickly and force them to make a decision with the ball, either by hand or foot, half a second or a second earlier than they would naturally want to. And they're giving to somebody who has been closed down as well. And then so that you might not get that first tackle, but on the next possession they try and do, then you're getting an intercept or you're getting a hand in or you're getting a tackle because that player's closed down immediately. And then the accumulated pressure forces the ball back into a 50-50 situation or into hopefully a turnover, and then you're moving. We were always just slightly late on that. And to St Kilda's credit, I've got to say, you talk about the elements of where they want to go as a team, having Jack Sinclair and Wanganeen Miller and these types of players. Jack McRae I thought was excellent. Just using the ball with some precision and opening us up. They did it incredibly well, and it was a really disappointing first half of football from the Cats. To the credit of the team, they clearly fixed some things up at half time and and it slowly started to shift back Geelong's way in that second half. We made a great run at it, ultimately fell short.
Yep.
Would have loved, was it Brad Close, the lunging kick on the line would have been his boot as opposed to Wanganeen Miller's. It would have got very interesting then if it got down to 3 points, but we did get the game going on our terms, but unfortunately too little too late.
Yes, I will say that I'd mentioned it in my memo, but the prospect of doing your homework and watching the game back on a Sunday when you know you don't quite make it, it's rough. So I think I watched the first 3 quarters, and then by the time I had a break and then I watched the last quarter, and I thought it almost became, how didn't we win? We were that dominant in the fourth quarter. And we'll get to that, and I would have, because we had opportunities, we had set shots, we missed a few finishes that would have not only made it interesting but possibly got us over the line. But we can't help but talk about the young brigade, because it's surely going to be a formative and a really consequential result in their development, because it was them that turned it around.
Yeah.
So often you're waiting for the senior players to lift.
Well, naturally, you can't help but think, okay, so if we're gonna make this big comeback and win this game, Dangerfield's going to go into the middle. He's going to burst out of the middle.
Oh, that should happen. But yes.
He did, yeah. Jez will kick 4 or 5 in the second half, and now we're back in the game. And we didn't have Tom Stewart down back, which we'll get to that shortly with the health report. But you look to those players. But you're right. The pleasing thing was finding the silver lining here out of a loss is it was the younger players who really flipped things around. Jack Henry's no longer a young player, by the way, but I thought Jack Henry was superb, absolutely superb. Particularly that last quarter was marking everything. Just a brilliant game of football from him. But it
also highlights the pressure on the ball and how important that is. You know, the ball gets sent up and you'll back him in a genuine 1v1 every day of the week. Sorry, I interrupted you. You're about to tell us he's standing in the comp.
But also, I was going to say Jack Henry was superb, but I also thought he was amazingly supported by Connor O'Sullivan down there. They just worked beautifully hand in hand in that second half.
Clunk.
Yeah.
He had some big grabs on the weekend. And obviously earned himself a Rising Star nomination. How exciting for him.
A well-deserved one.
They called him, what was the commentary calling him, a rangy character. He's got some great height. Producer Jake wasn't loving that.
but to see the athleticism and the way he got himself into position, you look and go, what, 200 centimetres?
Yeah.
He's 200? Yeah. 202 centimetres.
I walked past him this morning. He's a tall man.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. He moves like a shorter person, but then gets himself in a position, highest point marks. Like, wow.
And what I loved, I think almost, Jack became really solid as the last line of defence and in the fourth quarter, and kind of got up and he was like sending the ball inside 50. I think he had a couple of entries that resulted in one of Ollie Dempsey's goals. Had a very long range shot himself that it didn't come off. But I think through the practice games in the first couple of weeks, he looks like he's one of the defenders, and all of our defenders do this, where one of them has license to get ahead of the football and to try and challenge in that respect. And he was really instrumental in us turning the game around. 11 intercept possessions.
5 score involvements, which highlights what you're talking about. 198 centimetres, producer Jakey tells us. So I gave him a couple of extra centimetres, but
he played like
tall,
a 200
very tall.
Man.
Loved his game. Ted Closey too.
Ted.
Coming on as the sub for, unfortunately, we lose Tom, which was a big blow early on. Ted comes in. He is somebody, talking to all the people in the inner sanctum last year, he permanently had his hand up last year ready to play. He was playing great VFL football. Gets a chance, ready to go. Doesn't get a chance, still ready to go. And now he gets that opportunity. And I think even the commentators in the game were going, hey, this kid.
He's
Ted,
bringing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cleanliness and the intensity was, an injection of what we needed when he came on. And, we've highlighted Connor's athleticism and height, and that's got to help you in AFL. Ted is he's not a really tall guy. He's going to be that sort of part of our small forward fleet. But you love to see a player who's not necessarily got, that same physical presence, but brings that intensity and does the absolute most with what he's got at his disposal, which is work rate, effort, running capacity, and just toughness.
Yeah, and I reckon you can throw Jai Clark in with that as well for getting that midfield opportunity, that work rate, and he was just kept fronting up to contests as well. I thought he was really good.
I loved his ability not to, to face forward and to go, the penetration on his kicks. He was kicking something. I was like, that's a 40 metres. That hasn't gone over 2 metres, in height.
And you can see the evolution. So Joe Clark's a high draft pick, and I think naturally you think, okay, pick 7, 8, 9, 10 in the draft, they should be in and just dominating from day one. Not necessarily, because clearly got wonderful attributes, but you want to add all these different other elements, multiple ways of winning the footy, multiple ways of impacting the game. And Jai, when he first started, got his first taste of senior footy, hard and tough, and would lay tackles, bury his nose over the footy. But seeing on Saturday night was that next little evolution of his game. A little bit of outside ball, a little bit of, that penetrating ball use that you're talking about, to go with the foundation of hard and tough and contested footy, which we love. It was great to see the clearly 240-game veteran Lawson Humphrey just continue to do what he's done.
There was that left foot dart in the fourth quarter to Stengel, maybe. That's a joke.
With all sorts of heat coming at him constantly throughout the night, just composed, read it, intercept, clean, bang, as we've said, right and left foot.
Where did we land on his footedness?
Well, we think he's a right footer.
We think right?
We think. I don't know.
Oh, that left was...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very, very good game by him. I suppose what we're really alluding to here is it was a disappointing night because Geelong was expected to beat St Kilda. The way we started the game was a disappointing night. So for all of our listeners, we're not shying away from that. But you look for what this group can grow to as the season progresses, and you start talking O'Sullivan and Closey and Clark and Lawson Humphrey's continued improvement, Mitch Nevitt's continued improvement. Max Holmes, I think, will have learned a lot from the game. He didn't handle the tag real well early and then started working his way into it a little bit to try and have an influence. We got to speak with Jack McRae on radio the next day, and Marcus Windhager was set for Bailey Smith. Max Holmes would have had a bit more free rein that way. Credit to Windhager, he rolled straight over to Holmes and did a superb job on him. But Holmes will learn from that. Probably one of the earlier times he's been tagged by a quality player. So where this group can progress to with those types of players driving that improvement, that's what I suppose we grab onto in what was ultimately a disappointing loss.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned Mitch Nevitt as part of that group, and he's probably another one as we list the highlights of the young brigade. I think when he finished that, there was a great handball chain out of a centre bounce, I think, and he finished with that goal. He looks like he's, we've spoken about him in the first couple of weeks, but that's a player assuming a finishing ability, owning the moment, presence, I suppose. And I look at those players, and it's what this team can grow to off the back of them collectively thinking we're not just complimenting. It's not Mitch is nice to have, and it's we can turn the game around, we can own this, and your Mark Blitzovs, who had a great game, are there to support us.
Absolutely. We are going to take a break in a second. We're going to get to your questions in just a moment. We quickly touch on, I know it's hard, and we always recommend jumping on the website and checking the health update that comes out, social media or the website. Tom Stewart, always shattering to lose him at any stage of a game, but especially early on. Looked like, I think that it was that knee driving into the ground. The PCL type injury is always a bit of a worry. Do you have any update? Have you heard anything?
I believe he's a test for the weekend, which we
That's
love
awesome.
to hear.
That is awesome.
Now, I will say, and this is just me saying it off the back of having watched Chris Scott press conferences for the best part of 3 years, and before that, but acutely in my role at the club, the club always errs on the side of caution. So I think if he's a test, maybe just rest him up, but who knows?
No,
I actually don't know.
I'll take even a one, because straight away when I hear PCL, you go, 10 to 12. But I know PCL can be on the other end of things and be more the 1 to 2, which is awesome if that is the case.
We love.
Yes, yep, great to hear. Obviously, the other one that Cats fans listening right now, Bailey Smith, the late withdrawal with the calf injury. I'm assuming, given it's a calf and given where he's at, still coming back from that serious injury, that's probably a couple of weeks, a few weeks.
That one I genuinely don't know. I assume he might be. I mean, they said he was
close.
They said he was close, didn't they? So hopefully
Fantastic.
he's in. I've got one for you, and I haven't checked the notes on this one, so I don't know if anything happened in his run through, but is Sean Manor, how's he going? Yeah, I'm looking at Jake for any cue.
Producer Jakey's saying,
honestly, I was thinking, I wouldn't have minded a bit of Sean.
Yeah, yep. That's a great call.
On the weekend. So I think he was playing VFL minutes. So hopefully he's closer with every passing day.
Excellent. Well, as we say, because we haven't been totally clear here, because we're speculating a little bit, check the health update, the GMHBA health update for all of that. That'll be much more specific. The club will give more information out throughout the week. But it all sounded pretty positive. I was happy with that. I thought Bailey might have been a few weeks. It's amazing.
He might be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's amazing that when I was working at the football, when the news came through about Bailey, I was not shocked. Not knowing anything other than knowing when you have a big break from the game and then you come back and play a high intensity and obviously a high quality game, just how amazingly, unbelievably sore you pull up and then trying to recover, not necessarily the injury that you've done, you being a knee, it's all the other soft tissue stuff around it.
Yeah, when DOMS is so bad to the point where you're like, have I torn 4 muscles?
Yeah, yep. And just the you start building back up to being ready to play again the second week. Yeah. You are at high risk. So I wasn't shocked about that, but hopefully all good. Hey, let's take a break. Before we do, though, just remember your 3-game reserved seat membership, Meg. You can lock in your seat for our Round 4 blockbuster next Friday night with a 3-game reserved seat membership. You'll also secure a reserved seat, what is it, for the Round 11 and Round 15 matches at GMHBA Stadium against the Doggies and the Lions.
Yeah. Get on, 3 games. They're big ones.
Yes.
The Melbourne, whenever Melbourne come here, it's guaranteed an event. So Friday night footy, celebrating 100 years of Ford. So it's exciting times.
Exciting times. And you mentioned a little bit earlier the Digital Plus membership. Don't miss a moment of Super Saturdays. Cheer on the Cats when we're at home or far away with a Digital Plus membership and save on KO, which is what you were watching on Saturday night.
Save on KO, that's right. Don't watch too many of the shows because then you'll listen to the podcast and realise steal all our takes from Monday nights.
Absolutely. Let's take a break. Back with your questions next. Winning a three-peat isn't easy, but at GMHBA Health Insurance, that's exactly what we've done. By winning the 2024 CanStar Outstanding Value Hospital Cover in Victoria 3 years running.
GMHBA have been caring for the Geelong community since 1934 and are proud supporters of the mighty Geelong Cats. Join at gmhba.com.au.
Welcome back to The Final Bell, brought to you by GMHBA. Before we get stuck into a few fan questions, listener questions, Meg, which we absolutely love. Everyone sending your questions in, please keep them coming. Just wanted to touch really quickly on the VFL, if we could. Obviously, they played their first game on the weekend, 31-point win against Sandringham, which was fantastic. A couple of notable ones that listeners might be interested in. Jack Martin didn't play yet. I think he's gearing towards playing this week, but maybe keep an eye on the health report. But obviously, Cats fans keen to see how Jack goes. They play this Saturday, 12:35 GMHBA Stadium against the Bull Ants. So given the game's up north in Brisbane.
To Geelong.
Yeah, get along and watch some footy, which would be really nice. Couple of notable ones. Mitch Duncan, 24 disposals, got through really well.
Yeah, as expected. I think we could he's probably going to get on a plane, I'd say.
You reckon? Yeah, I feel like he probably will. Absolutely. Patrick Rechko, too, one of the draftees, 23 disposals, kicked a goal, took 7 marks, so really exciting. The one who had a really good day but could have had a monster, Ollie Wiltshire, 3 goals, 4.
That's big numbers.
Yeah. And
for a small forward.
From what I'm told, could have had, could have easily kicked 7 or 8.
I'll have to go watch the tape. Were they all sort of snaps from the boundary, Jake? No, yeah.
Just a bit of everything from Ollie.
A bit of Hollywood.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And we've got a milestone.
Hollywood.
We've got a milestone this Saturday for the VFL as well. The VFL skipper, Dan Caperon, plays his 100th game.
100th game. I think love a key defender. So, Cap's a lovely guy. And, it's not easy in the current, climate and context of the VFL. There's high list turnover, so it's an especially impressive achievement, I'd say.
And it's always been such a wonderfully important role throughout. If I go back even over the last 15 to 20 years, that key, really high quality VFL leader who fronts up every single week, plays great football. I go back to my days, and James Byrne was there. Obviously, Troy Selwood was absolutely wonderful in that role. Then there was a guy named Tom Atkins who did it so well. In fact, he came up and played AFL footy and became a premiership player and still part of the team. But those figures who are, as you said, probably learning a whole bunch of new names in the first couple of rounds, but just provides those young players with so much confidence with the way they lead the team. It's crucial for the whole club's development, isn't it?
It certainly is. So get GMHBA, make him a sign, celebrate him.
Celebrate it, yeah, absolutely. All right, some questions. How have the Cats stayed so consistent for 15 years? This one's from Tommy Merlot. You got a...
No, that's over to you, Skip. That you fall into the 15-year catchment.
I do just.
That's
just. Right. They're right at the tail end of that. I would say Tomo Merlot, just maybe a bit longer than 15 years.
It's because of the culture that was set from the 15 years before that.
Yeah, and what I would say is, and this probably harks back to, and I'll give some love to Bomber Thompson here, where he came in with a philosophy of development of young people and young players, and teaching them the right way to play, teaching them the right way to behave, teaching them the way to lead, teaching them to be better people. It doesn't always work perfectly, but that culture of always trying to improve young players. If we went back, I don't know, this might be unfair, 25, 30 years ago, and this was right across all football clubs, the culture was more about established older players just holding their spot in the team and keep the young guys down. Keep pushing them down, and even just keeping them away. Don't take my spot. And Bomber made a really strong change to say, no, we're going to promote the young players up. We're going to teach them. As an older player, you've got a responsibility to bring these young players on the journey, to help them in their development. Not with this fear of them taking your spot, but with the understanding that it will make us better. It will make us better as a club and as a team. And ultimately, with what you want to achieve as an experienced player, it will make you better.
Yeah, and you see the through line to the game on the weekend from what you're speaking about. You've got these players who are not in their very first season. They're in their second, third, fourth, and we're speaking about them as the young brigade of the team, but they've, been plying their trade at the club, sometimes in the VFL for a number of seasons, which, we have to believe only gives them a greater chance of success when they eventually do get their opportunity at the top level. But I can only echo what you've said and say that this environment's about being the best version of yourself on and off field, and that hopefully helps you have balance and a consistent approach to your professional life and have long-term lasting success. And
when I don't come in here all the time, you get to be here every day, which is fantastic. But when I come in here, I see the environment that is led by Chris Scott and Andrew Mackey, and obviously all the departments, but I'm talking specifically about the football department here. Is even today, we're recording this on a Tuesday, this team would be burning and hating the fact that they lost on Saturday night. But the interactions with them are like, right, we've got to recover, we've got to learn, we've got to improve, we've got to get back to training, we've got to make sure that we're ready to go and jumping on a plane to take on the Brisbane Lions. It is such a professional, calm approach to being the best they can possibly be. As I said, no doubt there is this burning anger of like, oh, we hate losing, but we're not going to be down in the doldrums about it. Just as much as when we have a great win, we're not going to be bouncing off the walls and celebrating everything and going crazy. It's like, no, we got a job to do. Let's get better. And so I love that environment that Scotty and Mac and all of the leaders in the football department have continued to evolve and grow with.
I agree, and I think across the competition in this first few weeks, there's so many reactions to teams that have good and poor performances, but the reality, as you say, is that the players know they're burning with the way they shoulda, coulda, woulda, and they're highly strung about their football games. You don't need to come into an environment and have that more often than not, you don't need to come in and have that repeated to you.
Yeah.
You feel that personally, and you come into an environment that helps you get back to getting better together.
Meg, you wouldn't be suggesting anyone in the media overreacts to 1 week?
Not at all.
No, one result? No, of course not. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, this next question is from Quinn. Why do we struggle at Marvel? I've got a follow-up question just to add to Quinn's. Do we struggle at Marvel? Did the eye test recently, you'd say, maybe we do, but do we?
I mean, and we've got to credit producer Jake. No, we have the highest, according to the notes, best winning record at Marvel Stadium, 65%.
So maybe it's just a little, or hopefully an anomaly of we think of St Kilda at Marvel really recently.
Yes.
And we say, oh, hang on, it's not so good. But ultimately, as producer Jackie has kindly provided for us, we still play well there. We still play well there. Not so well against the Saints in really recent times. We don't play there much anymore, do we?
No, I'm trying to think of the times that I've visited Marvel over the past couple of years, and fortunately it's been to those Saints games. Might have played the Dogs there a couple of times, but no, not a lot of...
I think, is it 2 games we're there this year? Or 2 more after this, or 2 in total? 1 more after this, thank you, producer Jake. And for Quinn's question, there's no clear answer for the Saints at Marvel of really, really recent times. It might just be a quirk. Sometimes, honestly, there's nothing scientific about this. You could get me data that disproves everything I'm saying.
Yep.
But sometimes as a player, you just feel a certain way turning up against a team. Now, the Saints players clearly driving to the game, they feel okay against the Cats. There's this something intangible thing that they just feel confident turning up, and it shows out. I'm sure the Cats have it when they turn up and play against certain other teams.
Brisbane, let's hope, at the Gabba.
Let's hope this week, yes, that would be very nice. But yeah, there were times when I'd turn up to games that you just go, we got them.
Yeah.
We got them. Just because you're really clear about how you play them, you understand what we need to do, and if we do it, we're just going to win the game.
And add to that, a want to respond to a loss in round 1.
Yes.
Yeah, they had exceptional pressure, etc.
I'll give you this one from Ella, Meg. Which player from the past would you bring back to the current team?
Oh my goodness. I just have such a recency bias with these things.
Does that include being able to bring Gary Ablett Jr. back in his prime? Because I think I'd
that's
just
a
take
great
that
point.
one.
That's a great point.
I'll
bring back one Cameron Ling. So there you go. You can do
these players
how to combat a tag practice.
These players move very, very quick these days. I do notice that.
That's okay. Give them the hands. All good.
Ella, and me.
Sorry, that's a cop out from me. You go.
Me joking about Gary Ablett Jr. isn't a shot at anyone who's currently in the team. I'm just saying, anytime you could add Gary Ablett Jr. to a team in his prime, I'd just take it.
Junior, senior.
Selwood.
I was going to, when I said recency bias, I was like, well, Selwood would be good.
If Stewart's out for a week, could we just slot in Matt Scarlett in his prime?
Oh, my goodness.
Just for 1 week?
Yeah, that'd be nice too. I wouldn't have minded actually cloning and duplicating Jeremy Cameron on the weekend. When he was up the ground on the wing and his ball use sort of out of the back half started to challenge St Kilda, I was like, yeah, but big crime in footy, you can't kick it to yourself.
Jez kicking to Jez would be nice.
Jez kicking to Jez, that'd be nice.
But
they'd be on their own wavelength, those two.
Yeah. Only the receiving Jez would knows where the ball's going exactly.
Imagine grind to Grian.
Oh, yes. I like that one. This one's from Lockie. Which moments from our first 2 games would you like to see more of?
Lockie, I should have looked ahead to do my research on this one.
My only, and of course this seems ridiculously obvious, is when I see the numbers that we created pressure-wise from the Fremantle game, and then the rewards, the attacking rewards we got off the back of it, if I could magically transplant that to the first half of the Saints game, I think we just take care of business.
Yeah.
So seeing, and I'm not a. It's funny when I coach the kids, I talk about the need to defend. I always ask them the question. They're like, "Why do we defend?" They're like, "Oh, so we can tackle someone." I'm like, "No, that's not why we defend. We just tackling and putting pressure on is a mechanism of defence. The reason we defend is to win the ball back so we can kick goals. The other way. So
because you win a game by having a higher score than your opposition.
Exactly right. So again, it's not the tackle against Fremantle. It was just the intensity of pressure and what it created for us. And we all got rolling. We all got on the end of it. And Holmes lights up and Bailey Smith lights up and Nevitt lights up. And the ball was just pinging around and flying around. The small forwards can go to town on their opposition because of the intensity and pressure that we brought to the opposition. So that's probably the thing that stood out most in the difference between the two games.
Yeah. The forward 50, we went on and on about the forward 50 tackle pressure in the first round. And you're right, that has probably meant that we're playing front half footy. So more of that, please.
Yes, please, Lockie. Frank, hopefully we've answered your question. We appreciate it, though. It's how impressive were the young guns? Future looking bright. Absolutely, Frank. I think we covered that very well in segment number 1. C. Hindra. I'll go with C. Hindra. Is Ollie Henry aware he is Nicholas Holt's long-lost twin? You're going to have to help me out here,
Nicholas
Meg.
Holt?
Holt?
I don't...
You keep talking while I Google.
Okay, he's an actor. He was originally in About a Boy and then grew up to be a very good-looking leading man of Hollywood.
Okay.
What's he been in recently? Juror Number 2?
Juror Number 2 is exactly the movie that just came up. He was in the Garfield movie.
Jakey's got your...
the pitch. Yes, that is Ollie Henry.
I hadn't thought it myself. Let me say this. I would absolutely take it.
That's Ollie Henry, though.
Yeah, I know they're talking about the eyebrow situation.
Yeah. Producer Jake will somehow magically work in a shot here on the video. But, okay. Who was that?
Take it,
C.
wouldn't you?
Hindra. That is Ollie Henry. I like that.
I don't think he's aware, but I can absolutely make him aware if you'd like.
Oh, I know this actor, yes.
I'm trying to think what he was.
Now.
I'm trying to think his biggest role as an adult. Did you see Warm Bodies? He's in The Great which is a TV series.
Looks like he's in a lot of like thrillery.
Oh, Nosferatu. I haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't seen that. X-Men, Tolkien. Oh, there we go. Deadpool number 2.
The Menu. Yeah. Great movie.
Mad Max Fury Road. Did you know he was in that? No, I didn't
did.
either.
No, I didn't.
Well,
the
there
favourite.
you go.
Sorry, there you go. That's my favourite film on his filmography. The favourite?
No.
Oh, okay. We're diverting. I
thought we were. What's going on here, Meg? You and I are usually perfectly in sync.
Anyway. Do you know what? I will tell him and report back next week.
Thank you. I reckon Ollie will be happy with that comparison. Often there were some comparisons I used to cop which weren't overly kind and friendly.
Same. So rough. I appreciate that reaction. I'm not even going to make them public. I'll tell you off air because I just can't escape them.
But Ollie will like that one. Thank you to all of our questions.
Waiting for the Dua Lipa comparison anyway. Sorry, yes, continue.
Please keep them coming in. We love the questions every single week. As we look forward to this week, just quickly as we wrap the podcast up, obviously Saturday night at the Gabba, 7:35 p.m, the rescheduled game after the cyclone. It does sound like, fortunately, no longer a threat of a cyclone, but it does sound like we're going to get very wet tropical Brisbane conditions. Mm-hmm. What's it, 60 mil of rain is forecast for Saturday night?
Well, we won't be able to help but bring a similar contest pressure and ball in dispute round 1-esque approach.
There's no escaping it, is there? As we said, with a couple of those injuries, check the injury reports, the health reports. So Tom Stewart, Bailey Smith, check those out. We think maybe Mitch Duncan. Well, certainly Mitch Duncan's name will be thrown around at match committee. He might come in.
Always good to have a senior head on a interstate, I find.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, especially against the reigning champs. I got one for you though. Ted Closey, he started as a sub.
He hasn't yet started.
Oh, is that right?
I think he's all 3 games he's been the sub.
Okay.
So
Do you reckon this is the week?
I reckon this is the week.
I think he, after his performance and
And
the
as you
way
say,
he plays the game,
He'll be in.
I reckon he'll be in.
Well, congrats, Ted. You're in.
Yeah, yep. He's earned his
Don't
spot.
even need to wait till Wednesday, Thursday.
And as we always say, Meg, on this podcast, our job is only to just bring people into the team. We don't have to drop anyone.
Yeah.
That's the coach's responsibility. Hopefully, obviously, it'll be a big test against the Brisbane Lions. They're a very good football team, but they've been tested in their first couple of games.
It was a game on the weekend similar to ours, I felt, where they were able to turn around in the second half.
Yeah.
Got themselves over the line.
I was interested too, the timing of their game that they played, an early afternoon game, the heat of, and noticed a couple of cramps come through, the heat of Brisbane. They did the premiership unfurling and it almost looked like it was going to backfire on them with the way it was going early on. But obviously, great test for the Cats to head up there Saturday night, hopefully win that one. If you want to head up there, great, do so. But if you don't, you could grab the Digital Plus membership, which gives you access to KO and their Super Saturdays. Visit membership.geelongcats.com.au for all the details. That's obviously to get KO at a little bit of a cheaper rate through the Cats membership, Meg.
Save with KO.
Beautiful. That'll do us. We'll be back next week to talk all things Brisbane Lions versus Geelong. The following week is the Melbourne game, isn't it?
Yeah,
back here at
tight
GMHBA
turnaround.
Stadium. Yeah, short break for the team. Be a short break for us, but we will
Good
be
luck
here.
on the weekend. You're playing a GF.
Cricket Grand Final, yes. Part of me wants the season just to end, but then the competitive part of me loves winning and wants to keep going.
Well, it's ending this Saturday no matter what.
It is. It is. I'm going to do some rehab and recovery here after I tore my quad playing in the
I didn't want to say it.
in the prelim on the
bruises.
weekend. Don't take quick singles. That's the lesson when you get over 40.
Yeah, but you still made 50 and took 2, right?
Thanks, Meg. Nice little pump up. That's why I love working with Meg. We will be working together next week. I'll see you then. Have a great week and weekend.
You too, Lingy. See you then.